Are we ready?
We are ready, sir.
So, here we are. Let's do this. Before we kind of begin, I just kind of want to say that I'm not here to point one person out and go from, pointing one organization out or attacking a group of people. I understand that everybody's got their own opinion about things. And you have a right to that. It's your job for some of you guys. And I know there's been a lot of voices going to one side. And so here I can kind of be in my own vibe, say what I need to say, drink what I need to drink, smoke what I need to smoke, do it on my terms. I don't have to hear anybody else's drum beat. Really this is kind of, a moment of clarity. Really this is kind of a venting session for me as well, to kind of look back at the 6 to 7 years of what I've kind of, been up to. And I think it really just begins we kind of have to start in the beginning, in all honesty. Around 2015 is when I had my first injury, and it had something to do with my neck. And it wasn't even a big issue at that point. But it's just like, all right, it's just an injury, whatever, I'll recover, just like I've done with all my other small ones. I was taken away from my family, my loved ones, and I was gooned and was sent to an assessment center, pretty much a lockdown facility, pretty much in the winter. Was put in lockdown pretty much to figure out what's going on with me at that time. And I was heartbroken. I was, broken away from the girl I liked and then the friends I cared about. So it was kind of pretty difficult at that time period. Spent a couple months there, did that, sent me somewhere else. Kind of went and how to take care of myself, figure out who I was in reality, mature a lot more, and so that's what I did. So eventually, grew up, went and got a job. My buddy was like, "Hey, dude, let's go do this daycare. I know you like kids. You have all these brothers. You've always been good with kids. It'd be good." So I was like, "All right, well, this will be good. I'll also be good with football, so I'm helping out with the community as well." I was showing my coach, hey, I was able to go out there and impact the youth. So that's what I did. I went there, got hired there, and then spent that whole year going in and taking care of the kids in the afternoon. And it was just such a blessing at that time period, and I couldn't be more grateful than anything else. 3 weeks before I went into the championship game, I got injured at the daycare, and it's because I was jumping over a fence so I can get one of the basketballs that one of the kids threw over. So I was like, all right, well, went and got the ball, jumped over. I actually hurt my knee in the process of landing over the fence when I was going over the fence. And, I didn't think of it at that time. I didn't think of anything would have, done anything, right? So, unfortunately, that injury increased. I didn't take care of it, and it messed me up during our championship game. And I think that was that moment of clarity where I was like, the next day, it was Monday, went to daycare, and I was like, what else do I got? I just lost. Not only did I lose a game for my team, I lost a game for myself. And these kids and these fans and these families, everybody expects me to have won that and been able to do it, and I couldn't do it. And it's because of an element that I wasn't able to control. And, I think, so it kind of started not drop away from football, but I was trying to still find a way to play football, but in a different way. But unfortunately, the injury got even worse, and then the coach was like, "Hey, we got to figure out what's going on. You gotta do surgery. You got to go to doctors." And that's what we did. Went there, and at the time, it was like, "Hey, we're gonna do a surgery on your left leg." And I told my boss that, and the kids at the daycare. And I think the problem is at that point, it it made me feel like, man, dude, all these kids expect me to be Superman. Everybody expects me to walk in here and be like, dude, this is Phillip. This guy knows how to play football. He comes in, he takes care of us. He does all this stuff. He's funny. You know, it didn't feel good. Something was wrong. And so I came in from the practice. I think it was the third week of practice of spring practice, and I walk in. My boss is there with one of the owners, CEOs, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna be getting a new center." And so I was like, "All right, well, And at that time, I didn't believe anybody. I didn't think that anybody was being honest about it, and I didn't think people really cared. And so I thought they were all joking. And so it turned, they were like, "Oh yeah, Phillip is gonna come, and why wouldn't he come over and stuff?" And I was like, "What?" I was thinking at that time, I was like, "Hey, don't be saying that now, because you give it about 5 months later, you don't know what my circumstance will be. You don't know what anybody's circumstances will be." So, and everything was perfect at that time period. And I think when you feel like you're above the world, and you got kids and all these fans and everybody that looks up to you, you forget that your life could easily be taken away, and something dramatic could cause such a crazy, switch. I think everybody there, the kids and staff and the parents, I don't think they liked it. They couldn't get out of that new element that there was someone that was gone they really cared about. And it was the same thing with me, People were starting to leave and move on because the new center was coming in. And I was like, man, all I knew was these guys were as my family. I've known these guys for so long, and I couldn't, the reality was hitting on me. It was like, oh man, this really was going to be a new center coming up. Well, what would happen to me? Without the kids, there was nothing, there was no symbol for these kids to look upon. And it was like, so heartbreaking at that time. You bounce off to 2019. I moved over to the new center by then. And unfortunately, during my new team and the new season, out the helmets and the padding for the first time in a long time. We thought the knee was doing better. Unfortunately, that got worse during that spring training camp. And then with the new helmet I was trying out, I had my whole neck injury, and it was the throwing motion. I couldn't even throw anymore. My neck was so messed up. It hurt so much I couldn't even turn my head left to right. I couldn't sit in the car. I couldn't do anything. And so when that started affecting me to go to daycare, I was like, dude, I can't even be happy. I can't even physically walk in the center and smile. And everybody expects me like, hey, Phillip, you're supposed to walk, come in a good mood and all this. And, but everybody expected me to come in with a smile on my face. And I couldn't do that. And nobody really took the effort to want to know me, or, everybody just assumed all these stories, I guess, that Phillip didn't want to talk to anybody, which wasn't even true. So I'm not sure where that came on. But besides the point, I didn't feel like I could put my full potential into the kids. So jump a couple months later, we found a new program for me from going into rehab with my doctors and my athletic doctors, figuring out what was going on. We had to take medication, do different training. I actually thought I had to train my whole body and my throwing motion in a whole new way. But thank God we didn't have to do that. And so a couple weeks go by. We start having the first spring game. But, I didn't play. I hadn't played that spring game. Impacting me so much, I couldn't even be on the field to play. So I was like, all right, well, I'll let this quarterback take the job, let him do it. We'll see what happens. And so, unfortunately, a couple games go by. He's, goes in as a starter. I played a couple, but in the end of the day, man, I'm sitting on the side like, dude, my neck hurts so much. My throat, it started spreading to the bottom of almost to my whole right side of my arm, and it was hurting so much. And I was like, all right. So I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done playing. And so I was like, all right, I'm done. So told coach, I was like, hey, I'm done. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to see if I can have another opportunity. Went to the doctors, did more rehab in those years, and we started wearing a brace on my shoulder. And then my knee, we had to get a special brace for my knee. In the end of the day, that I think that moved on from football into the daycare, and that started having me wondering and acting like I was so low with my life that I didn't realize that the kids there, they didn't change. It was me that was changing, and I couldn't adapt to that. I couldn't adapt to the new centers changing. I couldn't adapt to the new people that were coming in and out, from kid wises to the staff to the parents. And then last but not least, it was the original people that were at the first daycare. I was like, man, dude, I miss these people. These people were my life. And we did so much outside of the work, and it meant a lot to me at that time. So, eventually I got an opportunity to go back to California, to go play football there. And I got an opportunity and an offer to go play a couple miles away from where I was living, a couple of hours actually away from where I was at. But I told the CEOs and everybody's like, I'm not leaving. I'm like, because these kids meant a lot to me. It's just football at the end of the day. Unfortunately, I didn't realize at that time period that how the daycare was running didn't make any sense. They started having 30 kids with me, started bending all their rules, and how just doing things that didn't make any sense. That, I was like, dude, I've been with this other daycare for like 4 years, and you're telling me that we have to do it this way now, but this way doesn't make any sense. The parents were upset about it, and I was getting attacked for it, and it wasn't a good, pretty sight at that time. But but then I did get an opportunity to go back to California and visit, and for so long I haven't been there for 6 years, so I went down there and was hanging out. Once I re-met a girl, one of the little girls there, and she had 2 sisters, and they were so hypered and so positive. It made me realize my job and who I was. I was like, man, dude, these kids were like me, so happy and so excited. And so I bonded with them so quick and so fast, and I wonder if that was the downfall. And for me to walk in during the summer camps and that girl would come back from school or just in general, and the first thing she would do is like, teacher Phillip, she got so excited, always would jump and try to give me a hug no matter what I was doing. And it was the most exciting thing ever. I never had a kid like that run to me and be so excited. I thought everything was solid, and I come back and hell broke loose. And I think when you at a daycare or in a work environment, and you're the only guy there for 6 years, I think the pot starts to boil a little bit more. I think jealousy gets thrown into the mix. I think people start questioning, oh, well, he's young, but they don't start realizing, hey, he's been here for 6 years. I know how to take care of these kids. I know what they're doing. And so they started cutting out my hours, and I'd only be there for about an hour there when I was supposed to be working about 4 hours, 3 hours. And I started cutting my pay out. And so One day I walk in and they're like, "Hey, Philip, we're gonna have to suspend you, blah blah reasons." And so I was like, "What?" I was like, "It ain't make no sense though." And so, and then I got suspended for a week. But even before that, the girl that I always bonded with, she did not appear for a whole week. And I sat there and kept wondering where she was at. I wanted my best friend to be there with me, and she didn't appear. And so that Friday, I went and put a sign onto our classroom whiteboard, and it was just saying, "Hey, I miss you. See you again. This isn't the end." And unfortunately, when I came back the next, whatever day, or whenever I returned, uh, she was there. But when I walked in, they're like, "Hey, Phil, we need to talk to you." And so they're like, "Hey, we're gonna have to let you go because of these reasons." And those were the exact words. They didn't tell me the reasons why. They were just like, "Hey, we're gonna let you go. We think you would be better somewhere else." And I was sitting there, and had the boss who replaced my original boss, and you had the CEO, a new CEO who I knew, and I mean, I know these people, and so they're telling me, I'm like, "Damn, dude, 6 years of working service with you guys, with these kids, the blood and sweat, the money and effort I put in these kids, and you're just gonna let me go." You couldn't even sit there. You couldn't sit there and tell me why you let me go. And so, I was so heartbroken, and so I was like, I didn't say anything. I just got up and left, and so I had to go get my bag and stuff. And the girl, she saw me, and she was like all excited. She's like, "Teacher Phil, come sit next to me, my best friend." And she was about to leave as well when I was at the water fountain, and she was like, "Oh, hi, Teacher Philip," and just saying hi to me and saying bye. And unfortunately, I didn't know at the time, but that was the last time I'd ever see her. And I was so greedy with the feelings, and I didn't have the control of what I should have had, and the maturity, and I was so upset. I never said bye to her, and it hurt me so much, even up to now. It'll always be a chip on my shoulder. Um, and that was it. I didn't say goodbye to any other kid. And I sat there when I was walking back, leaving. I was like, "Man, dude, I'm wearing this brace now. I'm wearing this knee brace, my rib brace. I look like a hot mess." But I was like, "But guess who woke up early to come in and see these kids?" I did. I went to go see them because I cared about them. And all those times when I came in at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 12 during their summer camps because they weren't enjoying it, but I went there because they enjoyed it, because they enjoyed to see me and the activities I helped them with. It meant a lot to me, and I appreciate every moment. And it just seems now, I think everybody kind of just forgot, about, hey, this guy made it happen, If it's anything I've learned, it's that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, go together, because family comes first. And that end time of the daycare, I didn't think of, at that point, I didn't start thinking anybody as a family. I got so caught up with my injuries and the negativity that the daycare was displaying on me. And it hurts me, and I wish I could tell those kids, not even that. I always think to this day, I'm like, I hope I left on the terms of those kids and those parents, that I knew that I made an impact in their lives, and I hope for the rest of their lives. And if I could even do 1 second of anything for them that made them happy and positive, I would do it. I would definitely do it again, always. I would always do it for them. And the reality is, the environment that was put into wasn't healthy. It wasn't safe. I think I got so burnt out with football, and I got so burnt out into the work and the daycare. I think I was like, I had enough of it. And physically, I had enough of it, but mentally, inside my heart, I was like, I still love them. And I'll always love you guys. All right. Damn, bro.